Like, I know that it's happening. That's all I know at this point. I just don't know exact details. Other than that, I will just say that the reports that came out, there was the first report from Just 2DK. That was that's our sister site, on just for full transparency. There you go. I couldn't come up with the word. And the latest, what that at the time, that one said about kyousuke is going to join Falcons after the major, but at the time the detail was it was going to be, instead of Tessas, but this new one which came from Sheep Esports plus Nell, Coruscant Strike, whatever he's posting under nowadays, that was instead of Magisk.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
When every move counts, your chair shouldn't hold you back. Top esports players are switching to Anthros for unbeatable support and performance that keeps them in the game longer. Designed to support your unique shape and built with medical-grade components, Anthros is setting a new standard for comfort. Check out the Anthros difference today and get ready to fix your sit, because gaming deserves more than just a chair.
It was more than a game. It was everything. Every single emotion on display. Not a moment missed. This was CSGO through the lens.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans across the globe, welcome back to another episode of HLTV Confirmed. It's Thursday, May 15th, 2025 at 12 p.m. local, that's CEST, because we're going into summer. We are powered by Anthros and Skin Place. The major, everybody, this is important, is in 20 days, right? Have the alarm bells going off. Stage 1 of the major starts in 20 days. Every ep we do, I'm going to tell you how long, because it's right around the corner, and that's Counter-Strike at the moment. I got Striker, I got Prof, I got Lucas. Gentlemen, we're doing an early one today. I like the earlier ones. How do you feel about doing one at lunchtime, Prof?
Pretty good, honestly. Pretty good. It was just tricky to fit in food. It was like too early for lunch, too late for breakfast. I didn't know what to do really, so I just went for lunch, which is always a W, I think.
Okay, early. Striker, were you late breakfast or early lunch?
Early lunch. Always early lunch.
Always early lunch. All right.
There
well. We're going to be eating today, gentlemen. There's a lot to talk about. We've got a 2-hour hard out, so we're not going to be running over. We'll be getting Striker out of here. I have to get out of
55 minutes, actually.
There you go. So we're not fucking about today. We're going to get straight into things. And I wanted to change up the run of show a little bit. So essentially the reason for that, when you're thinking about a conversation and where we're going to go with Counter-Strike at the moment, I've got like these roadmaps that appear in my head. So tonight's roadmap is like to do with the framing of what's happening at Astana and the preview of the playoffs and what those means for those in attendance, but the bigger picture of everything leading into the major, which is where we'll incorporate some of the later news. And we'll do also a bit of a recap of the season so far, just a brief one with the time capsules at the start of the year. So I want to get straight into Astana. And before we talk about, let me just change this. I'll just write PGL Astana. There you go. That'll do. Before we get into too much, there's been some stuff that I think we should talk about just from a outside view perspective. One of those being that, let me share my screen in a second. We are heading into the arena this weekend. This will be an 8-team playoff, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm getting there. Hold up, sharing screen now. Okay, so these pictures came out from, I'll be able to see when they come up, so it's all good. These pictures came out from PGL today with the arena. There you go. I'll just be flicking through these. It looks like a 360 setup over there in Astana, and it's very similar to what they did with Cluj, but Cluj just had one end that I think was like a dead end where there was no seating. This looks like it can have seating the whole way around, especially here at the upper ranks. Any takeaways, gentlemen, when you see this?
Looks great.
Yeah, it looks pretty sick.
great.
Yeah, it looks pretty sick. Like from what I heard, like PGL was putting in a lot of effort into Astana, and it seems to be like their biggest event of this year. So it should be a good one in the arena for sure.
This type of stuff that we're seeing with this setup, I love this, right? The teams facing each other here that we can see, in the middle.
Super close, man.
Yeah, but this is it. It's a competition. This is what people have heard me banging on about all the time when I talk about these events. Some of the TOs have setups that are more like a concert. Obviously, you have smaller arenas, right? I don't know the capacity of this arena. Does anyone know the numbers that they can fit in here?
Oh, it was like 10 plus K for sure. I don't know the exact number.
Okay, that's pretty damn good. But yeah, I love the facing each other, right? Feeling like everyone's looking down on you, a bit more of like, it's obviously not a coliseum, but that type of vibe, as opposed to it being presented to you. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this. All right, I'll stop sharing this. And the reason we're talking about that is because we've got the playoffs, right? And I wanted to start at the top end and work backwards. So I'm going to share my screen again just here, and we can show this playoff bracket. I feel like a teacher, you're having a whack around. All right, next slide. So here it is. So the playoff bracket for this Friday for PGL Astana is going to be like follows: the Mongolz versus Aurora, NAVI versus Astralis, that's the top half, and FURIA, MIBR, then Spirit versus NIP. Now we're going to essentially talk about how we got to this point and how it's all shaken out. Is my Discord making noise?
Nope.
Okay, good. If it was, I'd be really upset. Okay, gentlemen. So I wanted to start with Spirit. I guess that's the place to kick things off, because it's not a very long conversation required.
Not at all. Not at all, actually.
I think I framed this on the last episode we did as this is Spirit's event to lose, because it's hard to see who else would even be a competitor for them. That's what this event was about. Is anybody going to step up to the mantle of joining the competitive ranks of CS at the moment? Vitality, Mouse, as well as Falcons aren't there, but Spirit is still one of the top dogs, and can anybody push them? And so far, it's all been 2-0s. They won 3-0 in the Swiss. It's 2-0s. They haven't dropped a map yet. They play NIP in the opener. Yeah, there were some that were close. Do you think they were causes for concern, Striker? Like, does the matches being close make you feel less worried? I mean, more worried for Spirit in this event?
Not particularly. Maybe just because the Game Legion one, considering how they kind of went out in 0-3, didn't really look that competitive outside of that series too much. So maybe that one. But then again, I think in one of those maps, Spirit was up at like 1-11-6. It just took them a while to close it out. Second one, they also had a lead, and then they just kind of ended up getting close. The NIP one is the one that I can't remember if I don't think I actually saw that one. I think I saw the Death where they stomped it.
The first one was closed. The second was a blowout. They were down like 11-1 at some point, I think. So yeah. As far as nothing really changes for me with Spirit based off of the group stage performance, other than some of the maps Donk needs to go nuclear, but again, nothing changes there. And it's still, with that side of the bracket, they take on NIP, and then they take on either FURIA or MIBR. I don't see any issues for them getting to the grand final. Prof, do you have any thoughts on Spirit?
Not really. Like as everyone said, just kind of doing what's expected from them. Let's just see if they continue that in the playoffs. Like, it's been pretty smooth sailing for Spirit.
All right, we're going to continue on a similar theme then with some of the more top teams that did actually make it to the playoffs. So Mongolz versus Aurora, I can lump the two of those in together, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. But they're playing each other in another playoff game, which is what we had at IEM Katowice at the start of the year. Somebody has to win, which makes me say it's not enough for either of these teams just to win this quarter to put confidence in what we're going to see from them come the major. Right? For me, this event for Mongolz and Aurora is a chance to show some strength in the arena games before the major, which is going to either put them in a conversation that they can be taken seriously or not. So for me, they have to win the semi-final, whether against Astralis or NAVI. It doesn't matter, right?
Kind of a tough side of the bracket, to be fair. Like it's true. It's like three of the favorites we were talking about ahead of the tournament, right?
But who cares if they beat each other? Yeah. Like it doesn't. That game means nothing. Like it honestly, obviously, it means they make it to the semi-final, they make it further, they get more VRS points, whatever, get more prize money. But in terms of the long-term stocks on these two teams, that game doesn't matter for me because somebody has to win.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
well, but that's somebody's who we will like attribute an extra arena win to.
No, we won't. It's not like not really. No? Do you give anything to the Mongolz one over Aurora at the start at Eternal Fire in Katowice?
To be honest, I don't remember that one. So
a bit. I mean, someone does have to win, but someone did win. you know?
Exactly.
And I think Mongols looked much better in that game, to be honest.
But Senzu still struggles in these playoff games, man. Like,
yeah,
it's now or never with the major just around the corner for these two rosters. If there is going to be the growth to be taken seriously come Austin, you need to be showing it in this field. And I know that Navi is a good team. Mongols have beaten them the last couple of times. They haven't been in arena games, sure. So if Mongols beat Aurora and they go up against Navi, I feel I want them to double down there in that moment and win in front of an arena.
Yeah,
that's what I need to see from them.
That's how I see it as well. Especially, I think, especially in Mongol's recent form, better than Aurora. Even though Aurora made all of these playoffs, 7th playoff now, and which is even worse. Like in some ways, like we reaching all of them and just losing. But I like also tournament. Just this tournament form looks better for Mongols. Everything is pointing in that direction, and then you would kind of expect it to be Navi in the semifinals, who they beat multiple times now. It's just like, it's hard to beat the team multiple times in a row. Like every time it gets harder, and Navi will power up if they manage to get to the semis. But it will look so bad if they don't do that. Like it should be their run to the final. Then bow out in the final to Spirit. Like that's fine. But like make some progress. Show us something new. Or maybe it is finally time for Aurora.
But they haven't looked better with a month off, have they?
No, they haven't looked better. They had some issues. I mean, they spoke about like they wanted to boot camp, didn't boot camp, some like earthquake, then visa issues, like all of these things. But maybe they're rusty now, but they might. Maybe that's recipes for success. Coming in a bit slow and then.
Mate, you must be rusty losing to fucking Big in the opening game, for fuck's sake.
I mean, it's not even just that one. It's like HLTV after that, they barely beat them, and it's like that's when the alarm bells go off for me.
I just still don't like seeing, like, they look frustrated still. Watching them play, the body language is still quite of a negative elk, and that's sad. But maybe understandable with the ring rust coming in. But yeah, now you're in an arena where you look at these two teams, Mongols and Aurora. When you think of like the X Factor riflers that you've got, it's Anthros and Senzu, and both of them have tougher times in some of these playoff games. So
you're calling Anthros a choker on stage?
He used to be called an onliner, bro. I think it's much better to be called a choker on stage than an onliner, don't you?
I'm just calling it. I just wanted to clarify what you're saying there, what the meaning of your words was.
Doesn't mean that players can't break through that threshold. We're just looking for the consistency in these important games, and that's a place that EF/Aurora have struggled this year, and the same with the Mongols. No,
I agree. I think Anthros had some stinkers on the stage. Like he had a few games that if he played to his normal level, they would probably win. But they didn't. I think the Mongols game might be one of those as well from Katowice.
It's funny that like I was just looking at the playoff stats, and Anthros is still on top, but his top is 103 for the playoffs this year, and then everybody else's sub 1.0. Yeah, so it's like it's just the kind of team-wide struggles on once
everybody
they get
drops
to the
off. Yeah, that's sad. Okay, well, somebody has to win that game. So. We'll wait and see. Look, I'm rooting for either because I want to see either of the teams make the progression, but that comes with a semifinal victory. So for me, they're categorized together. Navi is the next one. For me, the takeaways for Navi in this event are two things. Alexi is the highest rated player.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And they played Train again. They played Train at EPL, but I wanted to bring something up here with the map pool for maybe could be interesting to people. So since Melbourne, so this is including the Melbourne games, these are what the bans have looked like for Navi, first round bans.
This is the homework coming in from Chad.
I did some work today, everybody.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I was feeling, I've got my brain's like a trigger has gone off. And now I do the things instead of letting the things build up and not get done.
Okay.
I think it's Australia. I think it's things getting old.
Okay.
I think like the anxiety of things just not being done in the brain now makes too much noise that you have to do them. Okay, so since IEM Melbourne to now, these are the first round bans for Navi. Ancient against MIBR, Nuke against Falcons, Dust 2 against FlyQuest, Mirage against Liquid, Ancient against M80, Dust 2 against Big, Ancient against Mongols, Anubis against Aurora.
Okay.
So this has changed from earlier in the year, especially when Train came in, where they were banning Train pretty consistently. And they didn't do it against Pain at EPO, and they played it, and they just won it. That's the first time they played it. This is the second time that we've seen them play Train.
And they picked it even.
Yes, against Aurora.
Yeah.
Now, just to contrast this to Lisbon, which was the event before Melbourne, they banned it in 3 out of the 4 series, and the only series where they didn't ban it, Mongols did. Yeah. So Train was they were avoiding Train up until a point, And now it feels like they're happy to either target what they think their weakness is at the time or what their opponent's strength is in these matchups, which is they're essentially doing a 7 map pool, I guess, right? So right now, NAVI have made that gambit before the major. Now, is it necessary to get past the smaller teams? Probably not. Does it give them some nice flexibility when they come up against bigger names? Yes. In a best of 5, is it going to matter too much? No. The major's not a best of 5, so you don't need to worry about that. Yeah, I haven't really learned anything new about NAVI that changes my opinion of them for the major. Like, I think they can make the playoffs. I think going deep against the elite names is where I would have them against, Spirit, Vitality, Falcons, maybe Mouse. Like, I would always have NAVI at 40, like 40-60. I'd have the other team at 60 in all of those games. And that's even if like both teams were playing their best days. Like if NAVI was playing their best day, I still think those teams playing their best day would get past them. So they're still there. They're still in striking distance. But this playoff, I think for their confidence, a grand final run is mandatory.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think they need to get some revenge on Mongolz, for example, if that's an opportunity that, because like, you know what you said, like losing to Mouse and above maybe is fine, but like they lost to Mongolz a few times now. They lost to Aurora or Eternal Fire back before that. So it's like, these are the teams they shouldn't be losing to, regardless of like current form and everything, just like name value, history of the players, what NAVI has done last year and in general, like you shouldn't be falling to those levels, So I think I agree on that. Generally, the 7 map pool, I'll put it out. I don't think it's a good idea for anyone. In general, okay. I'm against 7 map pools because like no one has really pulled it off. Like none of the best teams in the world have played 7 maps. Like it's always kind of people trying to kind of pull a gimmick more than actually be consistently good, which maybe NAVI need now. But overall, it just never seems to do anything. Like, why don't you actually try to be good on like 4 maps or 5 instead of trying to be like spread it around all 7 maps and then, as we see, we don't really have like a good home map for NAVI either. So that's kind of a part of like their struggles this year is like, their Mirage used to be really good. Now it's not. So like where you're giving off some like security for like questionable bonuses in some vetoes.
Yeah. I mean, Blade spoke about it. We had like a huge interview with him. That was one of the things he was talking about in whatever, must have been Melbourne, I guess. Where he was talking about the 7 map pool, and it was basically that they just feel like they're in a position where they have to take some risks, right? Because they just can't be good enough to beat all these top teams without something extra, and this is like one way to do it. I do think that like there was a lot of sound logic in his reasoning about why it works, kind of work for them, which is the team has been together for such a long time that they have all the reps on all the maps effectively over whatever it is now, like a year and 3/4 or something that this team has been in the same lineup, right? So at least you'll always have all the basics on all the maps regardless, and so that's like one less prerequisite that you need to hit, to be able to get that 7th, and get a little bit more experience. And also like it was to do with the train coming in, it's a new map. Nobody is super confident on it, maybe apart from Vitality, like would be one of those, or one of these teams that just like pocket pick it or something. Like nobody really is super confident to pick it consistently. So I think, I don't know, I also think it gives off like a kind of playing not to lose, or maybe like more of a vibe of desperate lack of confidence.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a part of it. But I do think that could be a way for them to, get that one series win, that puts them in a major semi or whatever it is, where they take out like another team's like super good map, then they just pull that off in like a specific series rather than that will make them super consistent.
I think as well, like obviously it speaks to them not being a top team right now, because then they wouldn't have to do that, right? Like you don't see Vitality ever having to flirt with the idea like that no one is catching up on their maps. They have like a really strong map pool from top to bottom. NAVI not being in that same position. A cheeky win, yeah. I don't know. I also think the game at the moment, with how diverse you need to be from like map to map consistently, like with looking at each other's tendencies or the mind games from all that, I think this kind of throws an extra spanner. There's like more, you got to prep for more maps if you're going to play NAVI, so it also stresses the support staff a bit there from that perspective too. And then have you actually prep for that map? You you get an hour before the veto. I mean, you get an hour once the veto's done, so you'd have plenty of time to talk through things. So yeah, it just thought it was interesting to bring up the stats with that one. Anything else we want to add on Na'Vi?
No, I just think this Alexei topping the scoreboard is probably not sustainable. Let's just say that. So
no, but they're all playing decently, right? Like Alexei's at the top, which I agree is not sustainable. But everybody is contributing. It doesn't feel like anybody's lacking at the moment. But again,
I mean, they're like maps. Like Ime was terrible in that Mongol series, for example, and that probably made the difference. Like there's still issues with consistency, like across the board.
They didn't win a map in that series, right?
Yeah.
They had 2-0'd everything else up until that one, and then they lost 0-2 to Mongols. So got their number right now, and firepower wise, we know Mongols can hit pretty hard. Okay, so G2, the profs hit us with a tagline of G2 fucked up. Now, Prof, is this about the visa situation?
Yeah.
All right, well, get that out of your system now.
I mean,
should have been a fixture shit, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe it should have. I don't know. You can't really go back in time and fix it, right? But this is so bad, honestly. Like there hasn't been that much talk about it. Except the fact that obviously Hunter didn't make it. But from everything I know,
has played 5 best of 3s. He played every day.
Yeah, I mean, I also don't understand how he couldn't make it. Maybe for the last game or something. That I don't really fully understand, because we had like DGT. I think he arrived after the weekend, right? So I don't know that part, but the part about like why Hunter wasn't there, it wasn't like they applied and didn't get the visa. From what I know, they didn't apply. They got there. They were traveling there and then got stopped. So, someone fucked up, and someone fucked up with a team that's already pretty fucked up and in a pretty bad position. And now they can't even play with their actual players in a tournament, like leading up to the major. Like obviously Hades is probably not here just to stay anyway, but you would want to get some reps with the actual lineup you have going into the major, and try to do something together, and like try to get the what's the mood in the team when shit like this happens. Well, and you have to play 5 BO3s with Taz, who worst of all outfrags your IGL in half the maps anyway. So it's like, what the actual fuck am I witnessing in this lineup? What's happening? Let's
focus in on just the visa situation for a second, right? Because the fallout and the impact of that is something else. But can the two of you, take this horse to water and help me drink here? Because when we're at this level of Counter-Strike, and I think because we're around these events and we see it all the time, that that just becomes the day-to-day and the expectation. But I took my old man, he came to Melbourne I didn't take him, he said he wanted to come, he flew over from Perth, came to Melbourne to the event. And the thing that he was most baffled by, which was interesting to me to see, was like, all the backstage stuff. Like, oh wow, look at all the trucks and all this, and like the screens and the setup and the like,
this is such a dad thing. It's like, well, look at this screw. This is an 18-incher right here.
But I think more the scale, right? The scale of it. So then to like extrapolate that to what we're talking about now with G2, like this is big business. This is entertainment. This is a competition. This is happening around the world on a semi-consistent basis. Every second weekend, we're in some big arena somewhere or in some venue that's worth hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars to be putting on Counter-Strike events with people coming to watch and lots of people watching online. Like it's big. Right? Like it's not niche. This is big. So G2 not having a visa for Hunter, how much of that is on the organization of G2 to make sure that they're on top of what requirements are for their player, or is the onus on the player? Right? Like, are we at the point where
it's on all of them? It's on all.
Okay,
so everybody combine it. In my point of view,
but I think it's like 80% on the org. Like that's kind of your job.
That's the ultimate responsibility, of course. Like, players will fuck up, and that. And as the managers, it's your job for them not to fuck up, right? So that's where the ultimate responsibility is. But at some point, somewhere, someone had to have realized, like, we're going to a new location we've never been. How about we check like what we need to do to actually get there? That's kind of incredible, because some of them, there's I saw like a screenshot of like who needs a visa, and like there's a bit of a difference in the Serbia versus Bosnia, and I don't know if that's where it stemmed from or where, because I don't think Serbians need one, but Bosnians do.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
but then Hunter is both, right, in some way, or
I think he has a Bosnian passport, though.
But apparently he doesn't have a Serbian passport, because I also thought he would have one, because he also played under the Serbian flag for like a while when they played like I don't know,
Yeah, yeah. At the beginning he did,
or
yeah.
some of these like national tournaments. He played for the Serbian team, so he had a Serbian flag for a while on HLTV. But you know, we don't really check your fucking ID to get this. So that's
Sometimes we do
interesting.
when people
Maybe
ask for changes. To be honest,
you know, maybe he does have a passport. Maybe it's just not valid right now, or whatever. It could be any reason. But it's such a small thing that just balloons into a huge problem, and then you're stuck in playing in Kazakhstan with your coach, and it's just a waste of time for everyone, isn't it?
For sure. Like, I don't think there's a reasonable conversation to be had about G2's overall performance in the server, like in terms of informing the future of this team, and that future just being the major. Like Astana for them was a wash, right? I think there's like a few things that are clear, and you've pointed them out here, Prof. Like, it's a rebuild likely to happen in the break. We assume they're going to keep Mongolz and Heavy God, and then we don't know who the third would be. Probably Hunter, but you never know. They played this event with their coach, and Taz is a legend, right? I want to make sure that during the cast, I was making sure, I was like, this isn't just any coach. Like, this is a major winning coach, like a guy who's been playing the game for longer than most of the people watching have been alive. Like, this guy, he knows his way around a Counter-Strike server, but he's not in practice, right? He's not an active professional player. He's not even an active professional player as a stand-in. He's just the coach. So you're not expecting him to outfrag the in-game leader in certain maps and, you know, win a clutch or have an impactful double kill with a MAC-10, but he was doing those things. But that's just in the bubble of this event only, right? And then you also mentioned the AWPA part there. This is an AWPA who, well, we've heard the rumors about Sampaias and Saw going to the team, right? So Hades is only there temporarily. And if I look at this whole thing, Taz, as the stand-in, was probably the most entertaining storyline that G2 could have offered in Astana, right? Even if they went in with Hunter, I think my expectations were still not very high on them. Maybe they, you know, just stumble into the playoffs, or maybe they make a semi because it's G2, and that seems to always happen. But I'm not high on the team right now. There's no Nico, there's no Monacy. I think Mongolz is still becoming that player that we want him to be in this roster, and the one that he wants to be. We know he's had a tough year, right? I think actually having the coach there alleviated some pressure. He played some of his best Counter-Strike this year. Actually, statistically speaking, for LAN, he played his best CS of the year, which is a good sign, right? But it doesn't count for much other than, I'd say, confidence for him to take forward because they play with their coach. Sorry, the cops are coming, apparently. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Look, and sure, Mongolz had like an off-map or two, but that's going to happen, right? I'm more than happy to give him the good graces,
right? Like there will be times where he just gets killed all the time first or whatever, you know, like he just rounds the wrong corner and like things like that will just happen to these players.
I mean, yeah, just wanted to, if we're like focusing on Mongolz, like one of the things that I found interesting is like, bro, they still send them first in, like they have Nico on the team. Like somebody like executes on Dust 2. There's a smoke on short. They're popping through the smoke. All 5 alive. You know, you have Snacks. You have Taz. Mongolz is going first to the smoke, dies. They're going out long. He's going first out long. There's like, it doesn't really make sense to me.
Prof, I can't take anything from this seriously. Like only like a moment where he gets a cool 3K or he has like a good rotation or something, that I can take. But in terms of like general approach and stuff, I can't take any of that seriously from this. They're playing with the fucking like, why would you? I understand what you're saying, but
but I think like
it's so temporary. Like hopefully they're not playing in Dallas with the coach.
Don't you think like if they're doing it now, that's because they do it. That's their plan, how they want to do stuff.
Well, that's the thing. I hope not. But this wasn't a real look at the team.
Yeah,
Hunter wasn't there.
Let's watch Dallas and see who's going first. Who's going first that executes.
I feel like if we just wait, like I don't want to waste energy on talking about like them with let's talk about Taz being good, or you know, what else was there as a redeeming quality? There was funny moments. They knifed people and diffused in smokes. Like that was cool, right? Like they played average
Honestly,
teams.
They did better than I expected to some level, you know, because I just thought they would just bomb out. To be like, I didn't expect them to lose to Odic even with the coach, but still, like, I honestly thought it would be worse.
Anyway, Chad, I found your alt on HLTV. It's called Friendly Fire, Polish flag.
Oh yeah,
love Yatoro. Does it make sense to talk about G2? They played with the coach.
Yeah,
changes in the lineup have already been reported. Waste of time.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on then.
With that, moving on.
I think we had a good body of conversation there, though. We covered a lot of key details. You know, here's something though. Here's 2 teams that lost to G2. No, wait, it wasn't 2 teams that lost to G2. Here's 1 team that lost to G2. Big. Let me write this in. Actually, I can just copy it. I can just copy it from here. And
What do you want to say about the
Here we go.
finalists of
Bang.
Mesa Nomadic Masters?
Gamer Legion and Big embarrassed as a salacious headline.
Okay.
Gamer Legion looked terrible. I don't know what was wrong with them. They didn't look anything like themselves. The big one is a funny story though. The finals in Mongolia, fly to Astana, start with a win over Aurora, end up with a loss to a coach in a 2-0 fashion after getting absolutely destroyed on your map pick. That's their story. What?
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking Jova, isn't it? They don't have the major, same as Gamer Legion. Those
Yeah.
two teams were
They're
dogs.
Their player break just started now.
They can go on
Big.
holidays.
They
Yeah, I
have
can't
some-
wait
they
to see
have,
the
like,
pictures from the
some
Maldives.
They have some shit tournaments to play. I say shit, like all the tournaments, that
aren't
all
the top
teams
Galaxy
that have to play.
Battle and
Yeah, exactly,
TCT
that's the one.
Season 3 Europe Series 2.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to shit on your tournament. It's fine. It's an important part of the circuit.
But both of these guys are had the best thing with Gamer Legion in this event was the Torsen ace, which I thought was really good. I think he played a really nice 1v3 and got an ace. But other than that,
he had a few really big clutches in pistols and stuff. I remember, and yeah.
well, he's in those situations a lot, wasn't he? So yeah, that was just yeah. I don't have anything else to say about those teams. I just wanted to point out how bad I think they both performed.
Big got stomped by Virtus Pro out of all teams.
They were both in my Super Bowl category. This event meant a lot for them, and they're both.
I mean, big especially because they're the ones that have to stay in the ranking to get the invites and stuff. And now, basically, they had the Misa thing, which I think probably helped them quite a bit. But now, bombing out of the one tournament where Astralis, that's how they survived and made it to the top 10. Now they will get a bunch of invites to all these tournaments. That was that for Big. Effectively, that was their chance to stay in because they're not going to be in Austin. They're not going to play Dallas. I guess they're still going to make it for playing of Cologne because the cutoff is it July or is it June?
What are you
I
talking
don't know.
about?
It'd be 2 months before,
Cologne
right?
is,
So it
Cologne
would
is
be June.
end of this month.
June.
End of May, start of June. Yeah.
Yeah, so start of June. So I guess they'll still make it there because it's top 24, right? But yeah, after that, it's probably going to be a bit of a struggle for them to play and stuff. Unless they do well there, So it's just they're in that horrible spot now because they don't play the major.
Yeah, there'll probably be some drastic roster changes over there again, and with how bad M80 did as well. Actually, that's what I was meant to have, not Gamer Legion and Big. It was meant to be M80 and Big, but I wrote Gamer Legion. Well,
there you go.
M80 also embarrassed. Mate, what? How do M80 and Big both lose to G2 with a coach? It was meant to say M80. Here we go.
Should be.
I mean, Valve kind of fucked them up both.
I know, but
fair.
it shouldn't be happening.
No.
It just it just shouldn't be happening. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Now it's done. Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, Gamer Legion now announced that Slend is not going to the US for Dallas, right? And Acor is standing in. Seems like a
Slend was the
temporary-
lowest rated player from that group stage.
I mean,
0.66.
we heard before that Slend was probably potentially being replaced, some murmurs, Jambo potentially, going to Gamer Legion, then Fnatic coming in with 600k or whatever. So
300, I think.
300 now?
I heard that's what I heard last. I don't know if that's true actually.
The first one was 600, so whatever.
Maybe it's split it down the middle, 450.
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't seem like that must be coming towards an end. No.
Yeah, well, now that we're going into the tournament break as well, they're in a
Yeah.
position where they can make those type of changes. Okay, next team. Let's talk about Astralis. I think this one is a fun one. We love talking about the Danes. 3-1 in terms of the Swiss record. They won against Odic, Payne with a coach, and Virtus Pro in a moderately close 3-map series. And they lost to Spirit, 0-2. So with those results, they're not beating anybody great, are they? But they beat who was in front of them, so that's important. But I wanted to play something because this was Hooksy's debut event. I should have probably led with that, right? This was Hooksy's debut event with the Astralis roster.
I mean, it could be his only event.
True.
For all we know.
That's true. And they did make it to the playoffs. Now, I wanted to play a snippet. I have another little thing to play. Lucas, I'm going to play, share the screen and play. So hopefully you're ready for me. This was from the post-game.
Wait.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Wait.
This was after they qualified over VP, and then he went on the desk and did the post-game interview with Richard Blair and Dust. And Dust asked this nerdy question. Have a listen to this, boys, and then we'll talk about what you think with his answer.
This is like more of a nerdy question, sorry, but on the deciding map to get into playoffs on Ancient, I saw a very big difference that you have Stown like attacking B Cave now on T side. Was this your decision as an in-game leader? Or was this Stown's decision in this whole roster change that's gone on?
This is my decision completely.
It looked good.
Like on Ancient, we went with what they had before because it was a good map for them, and what they did before worked. But I'm never really good at calling with other people's strats and stuff. So now it didn't work for 2 games. What we did in practice, playing around only middle, was literally our game plan before.
Mm-hmm.
And I just switched it up because I thought there's no fucking way I'm going out and playing like dying 2 guys mid and then we are 5v3 every round.
Yeah.
This is like
There we go. So that was the clip. What do you gentlemen take away from that?
Well, I didn't hear anything.
I mean, it's kind of like mid.
You didn't hear it?
Oh, you didn't hear it. Okay.
I didn't hear anything. Yes.
Striker, you heard it, right?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay.
I heard it even before that. I honestly didn't really. That part of the interview was the least. Like, I didn't really know what to think about that part. So maybe you can say what you thought was interesting about that.
I like that part the most because look, if we're going to think about the way that the team was run before when Cadian was in-game leading, right? And then you'd have to go back to heroic in-game leading with the heroic roster. A lot of their stuff was an opening move or like a default to get them in a position that maybe they find themselves in like a 3v3 or something. And then remember like how erratic they were? Like, oh, we're pushing here, we're doing this. Like they were always doing something within the mid round, right? Heroic a couple of years ago were defining that state of always being fluid, always having something going on. And then within this Astralis team, you know, they would have opening moves and it would be pretty fast paced, but they would never, that cohesion wasn't there in the mid rounds the same way. Like they could trade out and stuff, but then rounds would just fizzle. I think like Hooksy is going to bring much more structure, and hearing him say, yeah, you know, I didn't want to go out like calling someone else's shit, which is great. Like that's what you want. You want a player like Hooksy or an in-game leader like Hooksy to come in and take control over the way that the game's going to run, especially with how dire things are for Astralis. So he gave it a go from that. He called the stuff that they had in play, and then he's come in and kind of saying, hey, this is how I see the game and this is how I want us to approach it. And they did get across the line with the victory there. So my point in this is if Hooksy is going to be there for a lengthier period of time, that's a really good sign, right? Because you want him to be taking, that's what you want. You don't,
yeah.
But you said that interview wasn't the most interesting part of it to you. What was, I don't know, I'm into the nerdy stuff. That's why when Dust asked that, I love the positions and all that geeky shit.
Yeah, I mean, it was not necessarily that it was like super interesting as a whole. It's more about the situation that he's in, and he's just kind of focusing on this tournament because, yeah, I don't think he or anybody else knows what's going to happen after this month, you know, so that was pretty clear from the way he's approaching it. It's kind of cool that he's actually found some individual form. Like it's pretty clear that he's playing for his new contract, you know, like he's just in that kind of a zone. This also makes sense, to be honest, because then they get stopped by Odic in that first game, like on Ancient. Maybe that's what kind of like sparked this change on Ancient.
13-2, yes.
Yeah. And then they lost another one to Spirit. So that's the 2 that he referred to, I think. And after that came the change, I would assume. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you that it is a good sign that he's taking more charge of the situation, especially if he doesn't know whether he's going to continue or not. It's just, you know, he's making the most out of this situation, and I think that's the best that he can do, you know. So
yeah, go, Prof.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, so we've seen them, they played 4 different matches and they played 4 different maps. So they played Dust 3 times, Inferno 3 times, Ancient 3 times, and Nuke once. They're yet to play Train and Mirage because their first phase ban is Anubis. So that's like what the map pool of this Astralis has looked like. I think Hooksy said something like 9 days worth of practice. Stown's still the highest rated player from the groups. What I wanted to throw out there was like a thought of when was the last time that Stown played with like a classical in-game leader? It was device before
Fractors or whatever.
Yeah, right. It was a long time ago. So
because there was in Heroic, it would be Blame F. Snappy in Heroic.
There you go.
I think.
So,
right.
So Snappy would be the last time you played under like someone that we would fit into that category, right? Since then, it's been Cadian, Orpa in-game leader, which kind of had its own style and for the time was successful. He did have device there. So if they do stick with Hooksy, maybe this could be good for Stown. But he still seems to be another. We've mentioned 3. He's the 3rd name that we've mentioned from the teams in the playoffs who are good in groups and disappear on stages. Stound's another one of those that just criminally disappears. So I don't know. I feel like it's put up or shut up now, but it's also their first event with Hooksy, and we don't know what the future looks like. So that feels a bit harsh. I don't know if I can say that.
I think it definitely, considering the question mark future for the whole like roster, individual players and stuff, I think it's for everyone time to leave at least a good like last taste, before the player break and before the transfers and everything. So just to, in case things go to shit, that you are on people's radars, because like he could be why not Stown in G2, for example? Like why in some theory that could be
if he plays well. Yeah, I see what you're saying. In their rebuild, and like the potential that he still has, and like the generally like the body of work that he has, like there's a lot there. There's always like something missing though, and the question is like maybe someone can unlock it. And I feel like G2, what the lineup that they are building is kind of a mixture of players that all have something going for them, but haven't really reached that high peak. And maybe Stown in that kind of atmosphere would actually flourish into what he's promised to be all of these years. Yeah, and I think that the big picture for this, it's hard to tell again with the in-game because it's still such a small sample size, and we like to operate with bigger sample sizes. I never think it's fair to judge like one team off of like one result.
But obviously, what if it's their only result?
Well, exactly. That's the problem, is the ambiguity around the future makes this tough, right? To really, so if they have a good result against NAVI, like already talking about the core of this team will have been securing themselves invites into next season now. So they're in a good spot.
They already are in a pretty decent spot, despite not being at the major. They're still going to be in this like invite cycle because most of the invites are coming in July.
Yes.
Like I think that's like 5, 6, 7 tournaments or something that are coming in the next 2 months. So by that time, they're still going to be in a pretty decent spot to get a lot of these invites.
So they've done enough to keep their head above water, right? They're just kind of like just there. They're still there. We haven't drowned yet. So in terms of what happens with the org, the team, the roster, whatever, they can still play in events even if they make 1 or 2 roster changes, right? And whether that's not by choice, they get a player taken and have to plug the gap, they still will have the ability to play in tournaments into the next season. So, we need to have a good Danish team in Counter-Strike, just like we need to have a good Swedish team in Counter-Strike. And that, boys, is a fucking segue into NIP, even though they're not Swedish. Exists the only one, Swedish organization, tier 1 debut, starting the year with a roster revamp, only keeping Wrinkle, exists as the coach, you jerks and arrows does from Saw, Snappy and Shush, they're the Danes. Still no bloody Swedes in here. Wrinkle the best player. Shush the second best statistically.
Shush is the best at the Astana, actually.
Yeah, but over their time as a roster, it's Wrinkle 1, Shush 2. But yeah, Shush is he's got a new haircut. People can't stop talking about his new haircut. It's all over the internet. I don't know if it's your haircut or he's just not doing it up, Okay.
I also don't know.
That could be it too. A new choice being made from Shush. Sure. But they're another one that falls into this conversation. We've had a few of these teams now, right? Like Game Legion was one, Biggs another, Astralis. We were just talking about VRS. For NIP, they've been fighting since the start of the year to get in contention, right? So they find themselves in the top 8. They have a quarterfinal match against Spirit, so good luck with that. But now, as of the 15th, which is today, they're 24th in the world for the VRS, which is huge for next season. That puts them for like a bounty, they'll be invited, right? For a Cologne, they'll be invited because of the play-ins. I want to contextualize this as well. Everybody sitting down ready for this. 1 month ago, April 15th, they were ranked 88th by the VRS. 2 months ago, on March 15th, they were ranked 149th. 3 months ago, on February 15th, they were ranked 169th. And 4 months ago, January 15th, they weren't even in the rankings.
Yeah.
So within that time period, they can now be invited to the best events in the world.
Yeah. I mean, this is par for course what I was talking about, like when we did our little like time capsule at the beginning of the year. I was like, yeah, I picked them to be the breakout team of the season, but also what I was saying is like, I expect that to come in more end of the first season because they're probably not going to make it to the major, so maybe they're going to make one of these events. I think is somewhere along the lines of what I said at the time. And I mean, they're par for the course at the moment. They obviously had to have gotten a little lucky in terms of making it through that 1 open qualifier or 2 open qualifiers or whatever it is to get to this position. But it's really nice to see that this lineup is actually working because it made so much sense from the beginning, and watching them lose to randoms with like the Jax version that they didn't even practice with and all that stuff. That was just so frustrating. And watching this team play, it's also kind of cool that I was also kind of like, my biggest question mark was Wrinkle. And I thought that he is the key to making this, like, whether this roster is just going to be decent or actually good and like be able to compete with like top 10ish level teams. And so far in Astana, like, he destroyed the Philadelphia, right? And so far in Astana, he has, like, you can see he has the ceiling. He maybe doesn't have the consistency.
Referenced.
Right. Like, he just has these peaks where he just destroyed, like, he just goes for combat upping, he goes for these aggressive moves, all this stuff. Like, he's so exciting to watch when it works. Doesn't always work, but when it does, he does take over games, and that's what I would really like to see from this guy, you know, because that is his strength. And like, especially today, in today's world where in CS2, you know, like, these operators are having issues, you know, playing the passive style and all that stuff. Like, only a few of them are making it work. For a guy to be this aggressive and actually be able to make it work, I really like to see that.
I think the fact that he's re-signed, right, is great for NIP, but this is what I would hope is that when the team starts to stall, if they do, that the organization is proactive with making necessary personnel changes, because I would hate for, you know, an up-and-coming AWPer just to get neutered and stuck under a contract and the team stops being aggressive with because what they've done, they're the test case this season, the first season of the VRS, to show, is it possible to go from literally not on the rankings to in qualification for top events and major? That this was a month earlier, they're in consideration, right? So that's the difference a day makes, but it's also shown that it is possible. Sure, you're not sacrificing. Actually, I think you're building a strong base and foundation, and if you can win, which is what this is about, you will eventually be able to break through. So I'm fortunate that this has happened in the first season, at least for data case.
Yeah, I think like I was kind of a big critic of generally how VRS works for, you know, the new teams. And looking back or looking forward, however you want to do it, like, if things worked how they should from the start, the problem was some of these like tournaments didn't even get VRS ranked, right? So then making the climb was even more difficult. But like, if NIP just like actually, and there are not maybe as much open qualifiers and stuff like as there should be, but moving forward,
there won't be either, because PGL is also moving away from that now. Yeah,
that's kind of the biggest problem, because like other than that, I feel like moving forward, you could just make a team at the start of the year, start of the season, and make the major at the end. Like, you could do this
if there was more open qualifiers.
Yeah, if there's more open qualifiers, and from the start, like, all of these like lower tier tournaments are actually ranked and contribute to the VRS. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm really that change about like not having that many open qualifiers, not change, but like it's not needed by Valve. Yes. It's not required by Valve. And TOs are realizing how big of a pain in the ass they are to run, and that whatever they run them, they have like so many teams complaining about things going badly, which is like
cheaters, anti-cheat.
Which is like one of those things where you need to realize it's objectively a good thing, even if some teams get fucked. Like, for the benefit of the scene, it's better for like 3 teams to get fucked by cheaters than for there be no open qualifiers. It just is.
It just is such a hard. You're not like, if you're a politician right now, Prof, and we send you out there and you need to get votes,
getting railed,
and you've gone out there and you've gone. Now, a couple of you will get fucked by cheaters, and that is just what we're gonna have to. And no one's voting for you, mate. You're gonna say you need to mask that a little bit better. You know, you need to shut that up a little bit more. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the point stands in the sense that we need more open qualifiers, though. You know.
Anyway, good for NIP. Shush, literally highest plus for his like rate, his positions to his rating makes no sense.
Here's an idea. If Astralis don't perform, like, Stowns shits the bed again. Stare in Stowns roles, shush for Stare.
Well, that would have been that was kind of the idea in the first place. No, when this move came in with like Stown and Yabi, that it was just the wrong two players that they got, you know.
Yeah, they missed the boat ever slightly. We'll see. They didn't spend a lot of money on that transfer, I'm sure. All right, next one we're going to get into.
That was a nice one. That just came out. They went out of the radar for me for like 5 seconds.
All right, for FURIA, they went international. They're still Brazilian core, so it's Fallen, Yuri, and Queserado, and they made their first playoffs in 213 days. We're all about the numbers and statistics and context here this evening. Fallen rifling, it looks serviceable, at least from the teams they played. Molodoy had some flashes, and there's only a 0.04 spread between the top performer and bottom performer for FURIA in their run, which is Queserado at 1.12 and Molodoy at the bottom at a 1.08. So everybody's contributing to get them the victories that they're looking for. They're still banning Ancient. They played 5 of their 6 maps so far. They played Anubis. It felt like that was a go-to for them. Mirage, Inferno, Train, Nuke, and they're yet to play Dust 2. So that's the state of the nation at the moment for Furia, and their playoff game will be against MIBR. If they win that, they will then probably play into Spirit, but always a possibility it could be NIP. Okay, gentlemen, International Furia. Were you feeling good about it? Were you feeling bad about it? And now in the post-mortem, how do you feel about it?
I didn't feel good about it. They're better than I expected, but they also mainly beat Brazilian teams, MIBR, Audic, and then Gamer Legion, which kind of questionable at this event what happened, but still kind of nice. I feel like obviously the vibes seem to be pretty good, like the Yakindar effect, new Yakindar effect.
Yakindar effect, not jaded and beaten down Yakindar effect. Yeah, they're a different effect.
And then this kid on the op, kind of skilled. We didn't
had some good moments.
We didn't think he wasn't skilled, but he also like the consistency isn't really there. He had some bad games, had some good games. But I think the biggest surprise is just that Fallen is pretty decent as a rifle. I think that's the thing that I didn't expect the most. I think that's really, he's been kind of mid on the op for a long time, and now he's in new roles playing what should be objectively harder, but maybe it's just the CS2 op is fucking difficult, so put him on the rifle, let him swing a bit, and it's good.
It might be a part that the AWP is harder. Like I would definitely bring that into the conversation. But another thing that I would lead with as well is some of the roles or positions Fallen gets to play with the rifle. He's moving around, which for like an in-game leader and someone who can read the game quite well, which in-game leaders, especially elite ones like major winning ones like Fallen should have a pretty good pulse on the game. So putting yourself in the right position, obviously you're going to have a lot of work to do in certain scenarios. It's like, oh, they've just mollied this and they've smoked this. What's the best spot that I move? But in terms of what he was delivering, he was buying the A4 a lot. I respect that. That's the man's gun. So it's good to see that. But yeah, overall, it's fun watching them have these spurts. But this is the last ditched attempt to be competitive for the major. So if we're going to frame it from a broader context, I guess we need to see the playoffs unfold. They'd have to get past MIBR, which they already did in the group stage, but that was a 2-1 series. And then I would want them to be. I don't expect them to take a map off of Spirit, but being competitive, I suppose, is what I'm looking for. I don't think this team is going to become a world beater overnight. Does that resonate with you at all, Striker?
No, it was just for me. It was the most interesting part of this was where Fallen was going to slot in, because obviously he was not going to make the transition of like a KDN who is kind of forced to go first a lot and like to sacrifice, because you have Yakindar for that now. Like you have that, like that's the guy who will take all the entries and all that stuff. So actually, Fallen can still do a lot of the supportive stuff that he did with Yop. Like he was really good with utility in general. He was always up there with like people like KDN. Like he kind of reminds me of what Apex is now, effectively, like with what he's doing with the rifles. Occasionally, taking the risk and going first, because that's what Apex sometimes just has to do. But otherwise, he is more supportive, like trying to help Yakindar and molodoy, and like it seems like it is not, like, surprisingly not as big of a transition for him as you would expect, for a guy to go from an op to a rifle. So I think that probably helped, that he doesn't have to be the guy who just like takes all the early fights and just dies a lot.
Cannon fodder,
and, like it's just that just automatically just completely destroys your confidence, right?
Yeah.
Because you constantly have to put yourself in situations where you have to sacrifice, and so like it just makes sense that they got Yakindar at the same time with this move, because they just needed somebody to take the front. So it's not like I expect that it's going to be like world beating or anything like that, because I think they will still struggle with the firepower in the pack, because that's where most of the firepower will be in a team, right? Even if you have really good sides, right? Like unless the pack does well, like the sides cannot activate, so it's just not going to be. I feel like there's going to be a lack of firepower unless molodoy just owns and goes crazy. At the moment, it looks nervous. He's had a lot of bad games. He's had a few good games, and it is very early days for him, and you can see that. So I can't really say whether that's going to be the case. It doesn't seem like he's going to be like some fucking simple level op or anything, or somebody who will take over games, but he is at least serviceable for now.
I think the thing is with these AWPers, we need to give them Like that, some of them are going to hit the ground running and stay running, but unless like that's more rare. Most of the time they come, they're a bit of a flash in the pan, and then they dip away for a bit. So it's hard to call early. But yeah, looking forward to seeing how they do in the playoffs. They should, I don't want to say they have a free win, but they have a win that they should be pretty confident about going up against MIBR in a rematch from the group stages. Okay, let's get into VP, and then we will do Fix Your Sit with Prof. Which is
maybe
VP
I can
related.
do that. Maybe I can do that first, and then we can talk about VP. I think that makes sense.
Right.
I think that makes sense.
All right. Fix Your Sit, brought to you by Anthros. Prof, let me write it in here. You can get talking, and I'll write it in. What are we fixing?
My fix your sit for today is that Electronic should stop IGLing. I think we've seen enough. We've witnessed it across 3 different teams now. And it simply has not worked, and it's not only been worse for like the teams that he's in, but also him individually. So let's just talk about this year. 6 events played. If we want to combine Katowice and the play-in together, 6 events individually in the red for Electronic. 0.9 rating. He plays rotation pack positions, so like the good positions he is playing, right? He's not individually performing. His teammates, the rookies that he got in, Icy and Flamus, very promising players, not performing, right? Across the board, like that doesn't look like the team is doing anything really good. Like there's nothing when you watch a VPT side that you're like, oh, look at this. This is amazing, right? There's a kind of a flash in the pan back in Lisbon, but other than that, like it's really not it. And I'm saying this also not because like I want to be an Electronic hater, but like, what is the point? This is a player that has been 4 years in a row top 10 on the top 20 list, right? He was from 2018 to 2021 like an elite rifler, right? In the conversation.
So the greatest duo of all time.
Yeah, simple. And him, it was like Nico, and then who? Then Monacy came up, and then we have like I don't know, maybe Sheer and Exile were like a duo for a while. He was incredible, right? And what we have been seeing since he went into the IGL role on Navi, that worked for a few months and then withered away. Then he went to Cloud9, never really worked there. Now he on VP took over as IGL, and it's just going downhill. So what's the point? Just give it up. Don't be the IGL. I feel like still individually he could do something, but right now it's not working on both individual and caller side for him. So it's just sad to see.
The Prof reckons Electronic to Spirit. That's his call.
Yeah, instead of who? Chopper.
I don't know. Yeah, naked in-game lead there. Look, this is the thing. I'm kind of on board. It's not going to work over there. So I have a counter suggestion, and it'd be fixing your shit, but not Electronic to do the in-game leadership. Just Electronic in general. Just get rid of him. Flit, Flamus, Fame, Boomich, Dexter.
Boom.
Right? Like, yeah.
Not bad.
I don't know. I'm just throwing something. I don't have a lot to say about VP. That's it. That's really all I've got. It's just there. It's just happening. Just okay.
The same thing as always. Like I'm still so confused about the direction of Flamus. Like you get this guy in who's this
then
like
cut off his
super
balls.
big X factor, and like that's how he finds success. That's what gets him on VP. And then you just neuter him, and you just put him in positions where he can't do any of that. Not all of them. Like he does play a few of those spots where he can, but very few compared to what he did in Game Religion, where he was like where it was almost the opposite extreme, where he was too much in all those positions, And so like it feels like you're just completely.
But they brainwashed him immediately, Striker. They had him within like 2 weeks saying, I didn't know how to play Counter-Strike in Game of Legion.
You know what it reminds me of? Of like the old Brazilian lineups that always got a fifth guy just to play all the bitch roles for them. Yeah. Even though it was like fucking Phelps, man, who's like the most aggressive player you could see on Immortals.
And Phelps and Fur in the same team.
Yeah, exactly. And they like it just doesn't really work. To be honest, like there, maybe it was just more like they just couldn't neuter him. Phelps was just doing crazy shit anyway sometimes. But still, like it just has those vibes for me, and it just doesn't. I'm just so sad for Flamus, to be honest.
Well,
I hope he's getting the bag at least.
Right.
Sadness and bags. That's where we're going to leave it right now, because Lucas, we're going to go to an ad break, and we're going to come back and we're going to keep the conversation flowing. Lucas, get us into the ads. Let's go.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
When every move counts, your chair shouldn't hold you back. Top esports players are switching to Anthros for unbeatable support and performance that keeps them in the game longer. Designed to support your unique shape and built with medical-grade components, Anthros is setting a new standard for comfort. Check out the Anthros difference today and get ready to fix your sit, because gaming deserves more than just a chair.
It was more than a game. It was everything. Every single emotion on display. Not a moment missed. This was CSGO through the lens.
All right, thanks for sticking with us through the break, and thanks to our sponsors. That's Anthros and Skin Place. If you need a chair or you need skins, check them out, see what they've got to offer. All right, let's get the show back underway. We're going to get straight into the recent news, and the biggest is finally Budapest has been confirmed. We had spoken about StarLadder running.
Everybody's surprised.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a little while, but StarLadder have finally come out and they have officially announced that they'll be hosting the second CS2 Major of 2025 in Budapest, Hungary from November the 24th until the 14th of December. 32 teams, going to be the same as what we're going to get in Blast in Austin in a couple weeks' time. 1.25 million prize. The event, though, will have a live audience for all 4 stages, with the early stages in a place called the MTK Sport Park, and the playoffs in the MVM Dome. Some more details on that. There's 2,000 people who can be in the group stage venues for stage 1, 2, and 3. And the MVM Dome, which the reason I'm sharing the screen right now is so I can show you guys this. They've got the seating plan out, and this lets you know that it's going to be a 360 stage. So you can fit 20,000 people in the MVM Dome. I also looked at to do with the prices. So just here it says that the prices will increase for each wave. So the first wave of tickets was apparently Monday, May 12th at 5 p.m. I didn't even know that, but that second and third,
it's released straight with the major announcement. That's when the first wave of tickets released.
Yeah, okay. Well, I looked at it with the prices that are out at the moment. So this is the most expensive for the 4-day pass for the playoffs, 370 euros for the 4 days. And then if you were to go to each of the group stage, that's another 4 days per stage. So we're talking 16 days in total. If you pay for this highest tier, that's a total of 435 euros for 16 days worth of Counter-Strike, which I think works out at about like 27 euros per day. Obviously, for the playoffs is what everybody wants to be. But it is interesting because this is said to sit 20,000 people, boys. Like, do we think we'll fit 20,000? Not do we think we'll fit?
Like I did ask. There's literally a 20,000 capacity for like maximum capacity for the stage that they've set up.
That would be the biggest ever, right?
It's like, I think it's somewhere close to Antwerp type deal, but then for used like a side of the stage, so maybe it's a little bit more than that. I think Antwerp.
How big was Antwerp?
Antwerp was somewhere up there, probably 18-ish. I think.
Really?
I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was quite close to 20 from what I know.
So then it seems like it's going to be possible, Prof, especially with this location. We've spoken about it before, but I guess now we can be unbridled about it. How do you feel about Budapest? How do you feel about Hungary?
I think it's a great location. I think it's the location is very accessible to a lot of people just driving. And it's like a different location to where Cologne is or where, Antwerp was. So I feel like it can bring in new people. Also, you can fly in, and it's kind of generally on the cheaper side while still being a pretty nice city. So I feel like it's going to be a big W, especially like, I don't know, I was reading, I don't know how real it was. Maybe it's just like knee-jerk reactions, but like people canceling their flights to Austin and like,
wow, really?
Going to the US because it was like around the time when there's a lot of, US politics stuff going on, and they're like, I don't want to fly even from Canada to the US there, you know, because like hostile environment or whatever. So it might be a lot of people that maybe are thinking of going to Austin being like, fuck it, we can just go to Europe. And we know that, you know, even for concerts and stuff, people from North America travel to Europe for concerts because it's just cheaper than to do it in your own city. So I feel like the culture is there for sure. So I feel like this is going to be a banger. Like it, in terms of being sold out, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I think I only have questions about like StarLadder. How good are they going to be as a tournament organizer? That's my biggest concerns, because they will only be running one event from what we know before that, and not going to be of the same scale at all. But I mean, if the first one goes okay, then it's good. But if the first one goes shit, then we're in trouble.
Are we talking, when you say that, are you talking about from the broadcast itself or tech issues or all of it all together? Just like everything.
Issues. I mean everything, right?
Yeah.
Because like it's
observing
about like
all the details.
The last event they ran was 2019, and from what we know, most of the people that did that are no longer involved in StarLadder, right? I mean, some of the key people are, but you know, it takes more than 5 people to run a tournament. You need like a depth of knowledge from, you know, from player management to travel management to, you know, the IT department to admins to, you know, the production team and all of these things. So the question is who is going to be there? Because like from what we know, StarLadder doesn't have that team right now, right? So maybe they need to work with a lot of freelancers, which is like maybe more expensive, right? If you want to hire literally everyone as a freelancer for an event, that's going to be kind of expensive. And then, you know, I don't know. They've obviously been also bought out by the company that's like India based, but then some ties to Saudi. So how much money do they have? If they have enough money, then everything can be sorted. But if they have to like cut corners, maybe the product is
anybody has enough money at the moment, Prof.
That's
at least
but somehow things are still being hosted, organized. Everything's still happening.
Everybody always wants more. For those people who aren't too familiar, StarLadder returning right for the first time since the pandemic. If you're not familiar with StarLadder, they were Ukrainian based once upon a time. Used to run a lot of lands in Kiev. We would go there almost every year. They also ran the Berlin Major in 2019. But we haven't seen them running events, at least, you know, not a StarLadder branded event since then. This will be their first time getting back on that horse with the trial event that Prof was talking about, which will be in the same location. Probably not. It's not the same arena, but the same city. So they can, I guess, get a trial run out of the way. So we'll see that in not too long of time, right? That's September, I believe, is the Star Series event. So you don't have to wait too long before we get to watch that. But we're going to get into a Skinionaire, which is apparently StarLadder themed. Is that correct?
Yes,
by Dimitri.
Yes, it's gonna have something you just mentioned is a question, and maybe you answered it right, maybe you didn't.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody in the chat right now, if you would like to enter the draw for Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Skinplace, type Skinplace in chat right now. If you're new, we do a quiz every week about a topic. There's 5 questions. Every question we get correct, we'll move the slider up. There's a grand prize available of a $50 skin. One lucky winner in chat could get themselves that skin. You just have to type Skinplace in chat right now to enter the draw. Okay. Question number 1. Let's get this one underway.
I think we made these questions for Striker, I think, but it's whatever.
That's fine. Let's get Striker doing it.
Let's do it.
Which of these had occurred at a StarLadder tournament? Emilio mid-game vac, NIP going 87-1, or Kaylee's D2 jump shot?
Easy. The NIP going 87-1.
Be locking in NIP going 87-1. The correct answer is.
Now I'm so confident that I feel like it's not going to be that. All right.
There it is. There is the confidence.
VP lost, and I was like, I don't know which StarLadder event, but I do remember it was there.
All right. Well, it's historic for a reason. Okay. Number 2. Which team won the most Star Series events? Was it A, Fnatic, B, NAVI, C, NIP? Oh my God.
I'm trying to remember any of these 3 winning a StarLadder event. Like,
I can tell you.
Does this count? Well, it's not. It wasn't called Star Series at the time, I guess, because there was also 1.6 and stuff. I don't. Does that count?
Probably not 1.6. Probably CS:GO, CS2. But I can tell you, you're probably what you think first is going to be the answer.
The NAVI. I think that was the first thing I had, because they would attend all of those because it's a Ukrainian organization. They were always somewhere there. Let's do.
You want to do NAVI?
Like either them or NIP. Like NIP must have also won a bunch at the beginning, you know.
I'm helpless here, man. Like in the 2015s, that's when Fnatic was really good. 2015, 2016s, like 10 seconds of Striker.
NIP.
Ooh, locking in NIP. Correct answer is.
Okay.
I told you to
him
go
out of
with
it.
your first. I told
I've
you to
talked
go
him
with
out of it.
But then I thought that NIP one had made more sense as a first option, you know, because they won a bunch of stuff at the beginning.
It's a catastrophe. I've talked him off the ledge.
Blunder.
I apologize profusely.
Yeah, off the ledge, but in the wrong direction. Like,
Exactly.
actually off.
Let's go
He
further.
did just fall off the building. All right. Question number 3. The most recent StarLadder titled CS event was StarLadder CIS RMR, Berlin Major 2019, Star Series Season 19.
Berlin Major. I hope. Wait. That was September. Was there a StarLadder after that?
Wasn't there a Turkey event in Belek?
But was that?
I don't know. I just know there was a lot of
It was
Russians
October.
at the resort.
Maybe it was Star Series 7 Season 19.
Are you?
No, that was
read
the year before
the
that.
answers. Read the answers one more time, guys.
StarLadder CIS RMR, Berlin
Well, that-
Major 2019, Star Series
Oh,
Season 19.
they did the fucking RMR in 2020. No, like didn't they host one of the RMRs? Bro, you just made me whatever. StarLadder titled. That's the one.
Yeah.
All of them have StarLadder in their
So
names.
what's okay? Whatever.
What is the most recent? What is the most recent one that happened? Which one of these was most recent?
Well, that's what I answered at the beginning. I mean,
We'll do a
asking me-
major.
Yeah,
Okay. Berlin Major 2019, locking it in. Correct answer
but
is.
didn't they play that? That was the fucking RMR, wasn't it? They played like something in 2020. Yeah. But like,
I don't know what to say.
I hate this question.
Guys,
Because-
I helped. I tried to help.
I hate this question.
Yeah, but you made me confused even more because I was like, the Turkish event was before that. That was 20.
Was it 18? I thought
I
it was
think
that was-
19.
That
It
was
was after the
2019, but it
major.
was it after the major? Okay. So I was right. It was October 2019. It's just
Yeah. But then the
wasn't
RMR
most
was after,
recent one.
obviously, because
Yeah,
RMRs were
because
after
2020.
that.
Yeah, because at the beginning the RMRs weren't hosted by the same TO as the major. So yeah, whatever. Fuck it. I'm blundering.
Look, man, it's fine. Question number 4. The runner-up in the StarLadder Major was Avangard, Imperial, or Ents.
Avangard.
Yeah, there you go. See, look, we got the Renegades are in the semi. They lost to Avangard. Could have been in the grand final. Didn't do it. All right, last question. Question number 5. For a $7.50 skin.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Who of these has never won a Star Series event? Fuck this quiz, man. Device, Get Right, Flusher, Shocked.
That's a hard one.
It's
I mean,
fucking
Get Right
tough.
must have. Get Right definitely must have.
Let's just say I'll give you one hint.
Yeah.
It's kind of a trick question
Yeah.
because it says Star Series and
I
not
know.
StarLadder.
That's the thing. I don't remember when the Star Series brand came in. Was it after the?
I don't know. They've
NIP era?
run 19 of them, though, apparently, and they're about to run their 20th.
I know. But it was called like SLTV Star Series even at the beginning or whatever. Like and like, this is tough because I can't. Star Series.
I can say
it's not a. So Device didn't win. He won Berlin, but it's not a Star Series. So that would be like a trick, whatever. I can't remember if Astralis won any of the other Star Series, to be honest. Like, I can't remember any of those. That was what I was thinking at the beginning. Let's go with Device. But I honestly have no idea. Like, that's just my first instinct.
Looking at a Device. Correct answer is Device. Okay. We got 3 out of the 5. $7.50 skin.
Thank you, Chad, for not saying anything this time to fuck him up.
I didn't want to fuck it up again. I just thought I'd keep my mouth closed. So yeah, 3 out of 5. Look, it's not good, but it's not bad. It's average. And that's sometimes, they say C's get degrees. And we're going to give this one to, Jinx Maverick, who's been following for 5 years.
He deserved a better one.
Years.
He deserved a better one.
I feel like well, sorry, Jinx. But we'll reach out to you and get you your $7.50 skin. So congratulations on that one. All right. Let's keep it moving, shall we? Now, this next one that we're going to get into, people want us to talk about this. And I understand why. Because he could be the next big thing. Or maybe he won't be the next big thing. Yeah, it's Falcons. Now, Prof, I need you to say this slowly.
Yeah.
How do we say his name?
Why am I the expert?
Striker, do you?
Except wearing an anime t-shirt right now, but I feel like you watch more anime than I do.
That's true. Now, this is the tough one because we would normally say, what would you say, Prof, when you look at his name?
I'd say kyousuke.
Now,
Yeah.
we were saying that for a while. And people were saying that was not it.
Yeah.
Like it was kyousuke.
Maybe if he's playing bad, it's kyousuke.
Well, some people just said,
I had an
Hiroshima.
interview with Magix when he said it the way that Prof did.
like, which one is it?
Bro, if you want to be a weeb, then you're gonna do a Japanese fucking ooh thing. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna. I'm just gonna read it like
kyousuke, isn't it?
like a Eastern European man, kyousuke. That's how I would read it. And you know what? If he has a problem, he can come and talk to me one on one.
Can we officially find out from maybe it'd be good if we get Constantine from Spirit to let us know. He could let us know.
Next time we do an interview, we'll tell him to introduce himself.
If it's kyousuke, he sounds like he's Naruto's arch enemy. Whoever the fuck that guy, you know what I mean?
But do you believe the thing when he said he doesn't watch anime?
No, of course not. Look at his fucking name. What does he mean he doesn't watch anime? Who's he trying to kid?
We can also call him Maxim.
Maxim?
Yes.
That's his name.
Maxim.
We'll just call him
Lukin.
Backen. We'll bring back, I don't think.
Seven Backen?
Yeah, Seaman Backen. He picked a bad name.
He did, yeah.
kyousuke.
I mean, that makes sense.
If we're going to be talking about him all the time, we got to get his name right.
I'm just going to say kyousuke, so
we're going to get it right eventually.
I'm not going to change my
Is it
pronunciation.
Ziwo or Zaiwo? Who gives a fuck?
I hope it's kyousuke. That's what I'm going to call him. I'm going to brainwash myself to say that. Anyway, some rumors came out from the mill, and the people who work in the mill, nobody works harder than the people in the mill. Maybe the people in the mines, but the people in the mill, they're working hard too. And the mill's come out, and the mill said, this is the rumor mill, in case you guys want to go find it on Google, that he will be joining Falcons after the major. Is that it? Is that the gist of this? Have I got the basis?
First step, let's verify the rumors. And for that, we'll go to Striker. And then after
correspondent Striker on the sideline.
And after that, we'll go back to me, and then we'll break it down what the implications are.
Okay,
yes,
all right.
Yes, over to you, Milan.
I don't actually know 100% timeline and who he's replacing, so I'm just going off of I know that it's happening. That's all I know at this point. I just don't know exact details. Other than that, I will just say that the reports that came out. There was the first report from Dust2DK. That was, that's our sister site on just for full transparency. There you go. I couldn't come up with the word. And the latest, at the time, that one said about, kyousuke is going to join Falcons after the major. But at the time, the detail was it was going to be instead of Tessas, but this new one, which came from Sheep Esports plus Nell, Croissant Strike, whatever he's posting under nowadays. That was instead of Magisk, who kind of looked untouchable until this point, but he's been struggling, so maybe things have changed in that direction. I will say again, I don't have that confirmed. I don't know who he's replacing or when exactly, but it is an interesting development.
Okay, now over to you, Prof. With what does that mean?
So it's happening. It's signed. Maybe it's not signed, but it's it's agreed. This is what you're saying, Striker. Just to clarify. That he's going to Falcons, and we don't know for who.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, it's how does this make sense, right? Let's try to make it make sense, because obviously very promising player. Yes, some similarities to Donk, a lot of them maybe, but Team Spirit Academy, Team Spirit main team haven't really won much. They won one event, the first event of the year, which isn't highly prestigious in any way. And then since then, they haven't really been even within touching reach of winning a title, right? Across the board, ask any expert, people will probably say roster change needed in the next 6 months. So we're witnessing a team that has this guy on contract in their academy, and they're letting them go. So the question is why is this happening? And I came up with 3 or 4 different things. None of them sound too great. One of them is just the role cell idea that Halley and Spirit Management don't think they could work with Donk and kyousuke in the same team. I think that's the wrong way to... I mean, we spoke about it last episode. I don't think that makes sense because reasons. Second part would be Kyosuke doesn't want to join the main Spirit roster. Maybe he thinks it won't work. Maybe he's not convinced that he would have a good time there. Maybe he was already approached by Falcons so many times. They promised him so many things. We also had the rumor about like him maybe wanting to play with Monacy, which is that's I guess fair. You also have Nico there. You have some really good players. Maybe they swayed him. Maybe he just doesn't want to join main Spirit, and they're like, okay, instead of forcing someone. They could. Maybe we just sell them, make money off of it, and move on with our lives. That's an option. What other options are they? Am I missing some? Like there's has to be a few other, but like other than that, just Spirit saying like, oh, we just want the money and we're invested in someone else. Maybe that's an option. Maybe they'll invest it in a player that really is more suited into the thing, and they can't. I don't know, they just have to get the money for this guy. I don't think that's the case. That's kind of sus as well. So what could it be that you're letting such a talented player go to a rival that's already outperforming you in the last few events and could just like dominate if they do this in theory?
Yeah, okay. So the role cell perspective, let's take a look at that. I have another thing I can share. Look at this.
Here we go.
I'm doing live research now. So bring this one up, Lucas. So I'm using Skybox Edge right now, and I'm taking a look at the last 3 months with what's not working.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so if you just take a look here, this is Kyosuke in Spirit Academy over the last 3 months on the CT sides. Now, obviously, they're not playing Tier 1 Counter-Strike, so you'd expect the stats to be inflated. What we're looking at right now is the role. So he's a rotation player on the CT side. On Ancient, he plays mid-rotation. On Anubis, he plays B-Con. On Dust 2, he plays CT mid, so they would have that as the mid to B player. Train, he's rotating on the CT side. Mirage, he's starting short. Nuke, he is yard. And then you have Inferno, but they're all playing also mouse apparently. And then Inferno, he's the rotation. So that right there is the positions of Kyosuke at the moment on the CT side. Let me flick that over. We can see what he does on the T side. So he's part of the pack. On Ancient, he's going T mid. He's going up canal to connector. On Anubis, Dust 2, he's going lower tunnels. So that's a star position. T main on Train, same thing. Mirage, he'll be here, there, and everywhere. Nuke taking yard control, and Inferno here, there, and everywhere as well. Okay, so there you go. So let me close this down, and then we can bring up this next one here. So with what I've just said in mind, let's look at what they do on Spirit. So we're thinking of replacing Magics with him, right? Is that what we're saying?
Either him or Zontics, I guess that's the only two options.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. They don't play Inferno, so that doesn't have to come into the conversation. But other than that, like, look at the position. So what, you're going to take him from a rotator on Train to make him a B anchor? Or would you put Magics there and then Kyosuke takes Ivy? I mean, Kyosuke takes Ivy? Fuck. Obviously, you're going to have this kind of an issue. Kyosuke is going to go play these type of positions over on Falcons if he is replacing Magics, right? It's either like a Zontics or a Magics profile.
I mean, what Prof was talking about last time. I mean, you would expect Chopper to probably go more into the anchors because he's at the moment quite roamy or like quite active, right? In some of these positions, like for example, like the B Cave one, like that's one where Kyosuke could definitely play. Like, why not? Like sure. We saw Nico play that sort of side on Ancient as well. So a lot of these that Chopper is playing, you could probably play as Kyosuke, but then you would need more of a switch around, right?
Yeah. I think that from this roles perspective that we were just looking at, though, it doesn't feel like an easy fit. It feels like it would probably enforce more drastic changes, which might not be a bad thing, right? Like maybe that's necessary for the team, but that I imagine would have come as a point of review after this major cycle. Once they have the end result of the season. So then it takes you your next point of like selling him and getting that money. It's like, well, then why didn't you just hold on to him? Like, how much money are they offering for this kid that you had to say yes, or you felt compelled to say yes in that time, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen to the major. It could be a catastrophic collapse. You might not even win this Astana event that you're at right now. Like this might have to happen. So it's weird to get rid of this inventory now. And I agree with your sentiment, giving it to a rival who's clearly building, a very strong roster. The problem is Falcons are going to have a similar issue fitting him in, right? Young player, you can teach him new things, but the last thing you want to do is clip his wings. Like, you don't want to take away what makes him so good, because look at Donk. They use Donk for Donk. And this kyousuke kid is being spoken about as the second coming of Donk in only a couple of years. So do you want to have him as the driving force of the team, or do you want to use his skill and mold it for how you need it? And it feels like Falcons are going to have to do a bit of that, aren't they?
But I mean, we saw what G2 did with Malbs. Like, that's the best way. That's the perfect example of what you could do with a player that is super skilled, that is not going to be your main star, is not going to put the highest numbers up, but he's going to be really good, even though he plays
in those positions.
Yeah, you give him the better anchor positions, the more active ones, perhaps. Maybe you swap some things around, as we said, like maybe some positions where Chopper is playing the active positions, maybe he doesn't need to be in those positions, right? And just adapt. There are some roles. There's B short, which is like a Zontic's position right now. That's perfect for a put in there. But I think a anchor on Ancient, for example, also pretty active because you're fighting in mid a lot of the time. I think in my eyes it has to be something with this kid. I mean, one of the options is simply that Spirit thinks he's either not that good, or something about him is not not conducive to a team environment. Maybe he's toxic, so they want to get rid of him. That's another option, just like putting it out. I'm not saying this is the thing, maybe they just don't see that happening, or him simply not wanting to do that. That's the thing. I think it has to be something down to his preferences, because everyone's talking from like Spirit's perspective, but this is also like a human being with his own wants and needs, right? So it has to come into play somehow.
I mean, it's also like nobody knows, especially with all these Russian orgs, like what the deals are, when their contracts end and all that stuff. Like that could also be playing a part in this whole kind of puzzle, right? Because like, what if his contract with Spirit Academy is supposed to end whatever, somewhere after the major, or like around the second part of the season, right? So maybe that's playing into it, because they don't know if they would use him in the main team. They're not ready to make that choice now. Obviously, if I was Spirit, I would rather make that choice now if I thought he was good enough. So that also doesn't really make sense to me. That would be a reason that would push them to sell him. Maybe the bag is just so big that you just can't say no. Like, it's impossible for you to say no to.
How much money would you pay for an unproven player who has been spoken about with this potential, right? Like Monacy was 600K.
How much would you pay, or how much would you accept as Spirit? That's
the part. Like, we at the time of Monacy, making the move, we didn't have this sort of a money flying around that Falcons is apparently offering. So but that was still a lot. Automatically just puts what? Sorry.
Monacy was 600K. That was still like,
I know, but at the time, like, we didn't have a Falcons just disrupting everything and just buying up shit for like unreasonable prices, where even players that are not necessarily so proven or that are risky, when money's not an object, which we assume is the case with Falcons, you kind of stop. Yeah, you just keep throwing it around, right? Like, and it doesn't matter what the actual value is, because that's not your problem. Like, you don't care.
So okay, let's do that then, Prof. What if you were Spirit and this guy is really that talent, and let's just assume the opposite side of this being painted, maybe he is toxic, maybe he's not the best teammate. Let's just assume that he's not any of those things. Like, he's actually a good fit. How much money would you want for a player like that? We haven't seen him play Tier 1 CS. They won a LAN, sure, but it's not the same. It's not in front of the stages. Like, it's not the same quality. He's not playing against the bet. So what are you
one of those that I don't know how much money makes a difference, because like you cannot buy players like this. Like, if he is like everything we know about him, all the stats, like comparing him to all of the, to a Monacy or a Donk when they're at this level, it's like matching all of those. So let's say he is to become one of these players. You cannot buy that. There's 5 of them in the world. There's 3 of them in the world, right? And either you have them or you don't. So the loss of not having him on your roster is complete. It's you can't put a number to it. That's why I kind of can't put a number to how much you would sell him for. And I will give you a number, but I'm just saying, like, it's kind of unquantifiable. It's unquantifiable. It's really like, who knows? Maybe actually we'll just have players like this every 6 months coming up from now on, because like, we didn't really have anyone. Then, Simple came along, then Zaiwu came along, then Monasi came along, then Donk. Then it's like the frequency of these phenoms spawning is becoming higher and higher.
That's fair.
So maybe, maybe Spirit thinks the fuck, we signed this 12-year-old guy for our junior academy, and he's going to be good in 3 years. So we can just sell him off. So I don't know, just how the numbers have been thrown around. Like if $1 million or $2.5 million for Monasi who is like towards the end of the contract is a thing, then probably a similar number is what you'd probably have to accept and be
$2.5 million for he's not. He won 2 fucking Danderlands, named after a fucking anime that he doesn't watch. He's not going to
be worth that. Let's just say that.
It has to be worth between 1 and 2 million, probably towards
Jesus.
2. In my mind, why are you selling him? Not because what are you going to do with the money? Who are you going to buy that's going to make the difference that this guy can make? Like, who is going to be that? Because if fucking, if a Jambo can be 600K, what the fuck are you going to do with $1 million? Nothing. You can't buy anyone that's going to make your team better.
Yeah, no, I see that. It just seems absurd, though, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
I mean,
yes.
I mean, this is how I see it.
Isn't it dumb? Like, are we talking about real money? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it doesn't make sense that he's leaving. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. I don't get it.
Look at Monasi, right? Like, let's say they did pay up 600K, and I'm like, there's other expenses to do with that, and I'm sure he had a decent salary and all that stuff.
Just to be clear, the players don't get this money, everybody. Just so this is between orgs. It's not the players don't get that's not player money. Just made that clear.
But would you say that Monasi was worth a lot more than 600K over the whatever they had him for?
But we
3
didn't
years?
know that at the time.
Of course, but that's it's all about perception, right? Like, it's not about actual value, it's about the perception of value at this point, and the perception of value of KyoSuke is pretty fucking high for the right buyer. Like, it just, as I told you, like, it just depends on who comes.
But
like,
okay, so
if somebody comes for whom money's not an object, yeah, they will throw $1.5 million at a team that doesn't actually want to sell him because, like, they just can't say no. If it's like, at some point everybody has a price, right? Or at least we think so. And so, like, they just keep throwing money at it until they hit the right price.
But this is the qualm, right? It's like, okay, so if we just assume for a second everybody have monopoly money like Falcons do, and they're just walking around with hundreds of thousands of dollars spilling out of their pockets everywhere. Falcons isn't the team that needs a guy off role.
No. But
they're a team who went from adding the second best player in the world back with his partner in crime immediately in the grand finals.
Here's the genius idea. So at the beginning, you do the Malps thing, right? Like, you just put him in positions that, like, he's not necessarily made for, but, like, you just do it with the future in mind. And the future in mind is Nico goes IGLing.
But, like, Kixon's only young and he's good.
I know. I'm just saying, like, but
I think
just make it even more unreasonable. Like, put all of the big fucking stars on the same team.
Also, role-wise, the thing is that there is a advantage there to Falcons because, like, Chopper plays rotation roles and Kixon doesn't, right? So that allows you to move things around, and you could put Tessus as an anchor. He did play worse spots in the past on heroic, right? So you could just have KyoSuke take Tessus's roles. Tessus goes into more like bitch roles, right? And then
that part is a bit crazy to me, by the way, that they still want to do it instead of Magisk. I don't know what I think about that at the moment. It just feels like they are either way. I mean, Magisk is more aggressive than I think people kind of view him as.
But he's not as aggressive as Tessus.
He's not, but that's what I was going to say. Like, but he is not as more. And then you have, like, another aggressive piece with Tessus, with Nico, with Monasi. Yeah. Like, how the fuck do you even? Like,
maybe everyone's always fighting.
Everybody, yeah. It's just like crazy high, like, aggression.
Here's the effect of this. That is, like, obviously we're talking about playing CS manager, right, and putting this guy and this and this and this. Let's play. Get on the couch and put your feet up and spill all your dramas in your head. Is that psychiatry? Either way, one of these players, Tessus or Magisk, is going to find themselves in a position where they feel they may be getting replaced at the end of the major. So will that?
I'm pretty sure they already have been feeling like that for throughout the year.
Well, Magisk probably wasn't, though. You said it before at the start that he was the safe piece up until recently. So, like, could that have a negative impact on their major campaign? I think the obvious answer to that is yes.
Of course, yeah. And they've put a lot of pressure on this major. They've been talking about it for, like, if that's why they got Monasi so early. because they wanted to win this major.
It's crazy. They're making the plays.
Yeah.
But just to be clear, people.
But that is the crazy part to me, to be honest. Like, what if they do win the major? Like, why would you change at that point? You know?
Yeah, it's true.
Like, you just want to keep overstacking, you know? Well, yeah.
Vitality did. Yeah, well,
Vitality did do that.
Outsiders did it. It was catastrophic.
I think it's just like
It was literally catastrophic.
They see opportunity in the market to just become the team.
Yeah,
and they're going for it, right? They're going for it because right now they could have beaten, they should have beaten Vitality in what is that, the first one?
Melbourne.
No, before that was Lisbon, right? What am I? Which was 12-6?
Melbourne. You were
talking
talking about Melbourne.
Because then it was Rivals after that. When Melbourne into Rivals.
Rivals, yes. Yeah,
Nuke 12-6. Yeah,
it's fucking Copenhagen events. Everything is just
it's
event.
fine. This is pure speculation. We'll probably never know how much money he's actually getting paid contractually, like month by month, if kyousuke does get picked up by Falcons.
Bro, it was Melbourne. You're talking about the wrong event the whole time.
No, he's on board. He's with you.
I agreed.
But he could go down as the highest paid
underage player of all time.
Yes. No, but like he would be getting paid the highest for your first proper team, right?
Probably.
Like he's an academy team right now.
Yeah. Modesty was just barely not 18, right? Like he was just barely 17. No, actually he turned 18 quite a bit into the G2 stint, right?
Yeah, which could also be a factor why he would want to go to Falcons instead of Spirit.
That he
didn't make generational wealth in a couple of years of CS.
Yeah, like it's not. I don't think Spirit's a bad org or that's like struggling to pay or something, but I don't think they're like nuking out some like astronomical monthly salaries, you know. So that could be a thing. Like it's just because also if you just look at it from kyousuke's perspective, we didn't really do this. Like where would you rather go? Chad,
I think it's going to be easier.
Player.
It's going to be easier with your native tongue always. And
that's interesting because I just like looked back at the kyousuke interview we did, like the last LAN or something, like was earlier this year, and he's not a very outspoken player, but the way that he was talking about it was like it's not really a factor that he wouldn't prefer to play in a Russian team, but you'd have to think that probably that's kind of like that's probably not that accurate, you know.
It feels like cope. Like it's always going to be easier to communicate in your native tongue. International teams have obviously, you know, they're at the top of the pops right now, so it is possible.
You will have a lot more opportunities, like once you do enter the international circuit, especially as somebody who has really high value, right?
Yeah.
So like that's obviously like getting that experience early is pretty big.
Well, I guess this is the problem. Donk is kind of tied to this, or at least it feels a little bit more like Donk is tied to this dragon, right? Like, could you see Donk in Vitality or Donk in Mals or Donk in Falcons? Like, do you think like would ever be a possibility?
It's kind of like Zywoo right now. It's really hard to see.
Yeah, Star Simple. Before,
so I guess the plate could be crowded if you're kyousuke and you're looking at it like, but Falcons, you get to play with Modesty, but you will be playing out of position. I think you get more freedom, or not more freedom, maybe more desirable positions in Spirit than you would in Falcons, but at the same time, who knows what they're going to make the complexion look like. So,
I mean, like, look, for all we know, they could replace Tessus as well, you know, after the major. Like, we just don't know about it, you know, like this. There's been this like kind of like conspiracy theory that the Perfecto sub for Austin could just be like a preparation for like the move after or whatever it is. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen because like we haven't seen Perfecto play properly for I don't know how long now, and it would be a huge risk.
Yeah,
honestly. But it would be a proper anchor, you know, instead of like let's say as an actual Magisk replacement, you know, instead of kyousuke. So it's like, Anyway, like with Falcons, you never fucking know what else is coming.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's enough for Falcons right now. We've got about 20 minutes to go, so let's start to wrap some things up. I want to get into what are the odds. This is one of the segments we do every week on the show. We set a percentage. You guys in Twitch chat can too. Me, Striker, and Prof will also. And then we find out what the average is. And then you guys get to vote on social media. And if you turn out to be right, money will go into the kitty for end of the season, where we'll give away some lovely prizes to our lovely viewers. Now,
didn't we already do one of these, or did we just not do it in the end?
No, we gave away prizes last.
No, I mean this actual question.
I don't think. Not this season.
No, we spoke about it in the chat. We spoke about it in the chat.
So the question is, 5+ players miss Austin due to visa issues. Now, I saw some news already today. There was something about there in the shorts to do with, was it Bastia, one of the players having visa issues there. 5+ players across 32 teams. So it doesn't even necessarily need to be the one player over 5 different teams. 5+,
Can be
so it
one
needs to be
team.
6, or is it 5?
More than 5 or at least 5?
At least 5.
At least 5.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 85%.
Okay. We're not counting coaches, just so you know.
Okay. I'm
Coaches
going high.
don't count.
85%.
Yeah, I'm going 90%. I think when we originally spoke, I said like maybe a higher number, like 9 or something, and you're all shutting me down that it's too much, or maybe just a striker. But I think
That's probably me.
I think 5 players miss out. Not counting coaches, not counting subs, just like people that are actively supposed to be playing, not playing.
Yeah. For me, I agree. So Prof's gone 90, I've gone 85. I just think that there's obviously a bit more scrutiny, at least in the news, whether it's real or not, who knows? But there has been more news about it being difficult at the moment to get into the States. And I think people from places with, I think it was 90%, Lucas, for Prof.
Oh, blood sleeping.
I think people with weak passports will have a tough time. That's it. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. Sometimes that's the way the world goes.
I mean, we shot a question blast way because of the Bastia situation, and the response we got made it look like there's only one other team that is currently like kind of up in the air.
Okay.
Which makes me feel good about the prospect of like everybody making it kind of unscathed. But of course, like you never know what happens at immigration. Like things can happen at the last moment, and we have 160 players. Yeah. About to come into the major. Like it feels like 5 is not that high. We've never really had a tournament in America that big, and we've had tournaments where, you know, either whole teams or at least multiple different players from different teams, you know, didn't make it. So I feel like it's fairly high. I don't know. I'm gonna be a bit more positive. On the positive side, I'm gonna say 60.
Okay. Still more than 50%. Slightly more positive than we are. Okay. What's Twitch chat saying, Lucas? Oh, they've still got time on their poll right now. Like, this is a weird one to talk about, right? You call it? Yeah. It's a tough. Oh, they've gone high too. Okay. So Twitch chat and I are aligned. Who would have thought? I own all the dupe accounts. I have all the accounts right now in Twitch chat. It is the hive mind living through me. But yeah, no, I just, it's a tough topic to talk about, but we tend to get visa issues when we go to the States in the first place. So with so many more teams in attendance for this one, I think that there's a decent likelihood of it happening. I would hope that it doesn't, because you don't want the major to be marred and storylines talking about teams. Oh, well, this guy couldn't make it, so they had to get Steel to stand in. But Steel would be a good one. He just got unbanned from Valve, and the Canadian, he is back in the server. Steel steps in for FlyQuest. You know, like anyway, FlyQuest will make it in. Cool. Everyone happy?
Yeah.
You guys get your vote on Instagram or on Twitter. Yes, the odds are going to be $1.25.
Honestly, like
I'd go with no. Go with the no. It's worth it. Go with the no.
Honestly, I feel like there's a good chance.
All right, final little segment for this evening. I don't have the link for this. Does anyone have the link for the fucking? Nope. Oh dear. Well, we'll send Prof hunting for it. And while we do that, the reason that we're doing this now is that this year, especially the start of the year, and late last year, the conversation was heavily focused around VRS and TOR. Valve Regional Standings, Tournament Operations Requirements, and what type of impact that would have on the ecosystem. Now, we're right now on the 15th of May. You know, we've seen this unfold. We were talking about NIP, the impacts there, right? Because we've got teams, we've got tournaments, everything in between impacted as part of these changes. So I wanted to bring up the time capsule just to see where we're at with some of the things we were talking about. But while Prof finds that, maybe I can bring up something else in the interim, just so we aren't treading water too much. Let me just scoop this one up, and I'll be sharing my screen again. This is one of these things that falls in line with all the VRS and TOR conversation. And what I'm showing everybody right now is the annual club incentive update from ESL or EFG or whatever you want to call it. It's ESL Gaming, so I guess this is post IEM Melbourne. Now, if you guys weren't keeping up with the conversations, essentially there's a couple of different tournament structures that we started the year with. We had Blast Variation, which there's the frequent flyer points. There's tokens that you're able to earn across events that at the end of the year will then be divvied up between teams with tokens, as well as appearance fees based off of where you are in the ranking on your invitation to tournaments. ESL's was a club. ESL's was a club share as part of the prize money, and then they also have this this club incentive. So the club incentive is a bit more to do with rev share. And what I wanted to show people was just like this is as of yesterday, they posted this. If we took a snapshot of this and froze it now, at the moment, NAVI would get almost $400,000 based off of the annual club incentive of money for their contributions to the broadcasts that have been on. Falcons would be in at number 2. And this does to do with, as you guys can see here, viewership points, events attended, and you get to see how much they make up of the shares.
What's the reason why vitality is so low?
Viewership, I guess, right? So total viewership points.
I guess viewership for the group stage games is much lower because, like, obviously they made finals, which are like breaking records and stuff.
Yeah, it's only from group stages. Like it's taken from before the playoffs.
The viewership is only for the group stages.
I think that's how it works. I would have to check 100%, but I think that is.
Why would they do that?
I guess to make it fair
because playoffs are highly viewed. I guess anyway.
But you've got a team like Liquid, right? So this is the thing. This shows you fan base.
But that's what I'm saying. Like Liquid didn't really make it that far, so why would they be that high consistently?
They could. I don't know. I don't know.
Go up. I'm sure it says it somewhere there.
Average CCV, viewership placement.
No, I don't mean that. I mean just generally like where they take it. Like there's no way with all the finals and stuff. There's no way Vitality only got 145.
The 16 teams in attendance have been ranked based on their average concurrent viewers in the group stage.
There you go.
For the 16 teams in attendance, the top 12 ranked teams based on average concurrent viewers were awarded viewership points based on the points matrix. So you see it in the numbers. Like there's no way with all the finals and all the playoffs, Vitality would just have 140. Okay,
like no chance.
It does speak to the popularity of teams like Orgs, like NAVI and Liquid, right? Because neither have been great this year, but are still quite high up.
Also, the fall off of G2 as a result of the Monacy and Nico departures.
Yeah, there's interesting things that you can glean from these statistics. But at the end of the day, for the Orgs, this is the number over here that matters. And at the end of the year, we'll see how this stands. But it is sizable amounts of money. I think with the frequent flyer programs as well, some of the top Orgs, especially the ones that are winning, stand to make hundreds of thousands of dollars as well.
Yeah, FaZe are super low as well. Whoa.
FaZe are all the way down here at 11.
I think that's partly because of the attend. Yeah, they skipped one, right? That's partly one of it.
Yep. They didn't do APL. Anyway, let me stop sharing this now. Let's get into the time capsule. Let me whack that and I will bring it up.
I took a little peek. Not too bad. Too bad.
I forgot it was part of another document. That's my fault. Okay. We're going to go slideshow and I'm going to share and we're sharing the slideshow. Okay. So
can everyone see this, guys? Can everyone see this?
Everyone in the back, get off your phones. I used AI. I reckon the AI has gotten much better. I'd be able to make better things with this in the future. All right. So we're starting with profs. As you can see here, some type of a space warrior is prof here in the future. So we had major winner, Prof Vitality. How are you feeling about that?
Pretty good. Feeling pretty good about the major MVP, major winner. That's looking pretty good. Yeah.
So major MVP Zai with major winner Vitality. Oh, that's nice. Don't make the major VP. They made the major.
Almost didn't make it, to be honest. They are very close, and they're so bad right now that I don't feel bad about them. That one at all.
What about this one? Breakout player or team? Bet boom.
I don't know what inspired that one. I don't know what inspired that one. Really, I actually literally don't remember this at all.
I mean, probably the Boomich. Well, like that they would get. Didn't you say that they would get Dexter maybe or something like down the line, or I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, the team is not bad on paper, and they had
not really doing anything.
They had good. What was the first thing that they played? Which was. Bounty was pretty good for them, I think. Then they couldn't play with all their players, I think, on the LAN and whatever. It's sad. Not a good one for me.
Yeah. Okay. Team to make roster changes. Falcons, correct?
W.
Yep. Team of the season. Spirit.
Not a W. They're not. They're okay. They won a tournament. They were up there, but not really team of the season.
That one's aged probably like because the Bedbin one's a Hail Mary, right? You're trying to be a bit out of the box. You're trying to make a bit of a play. I reckon this one's probably aged the poorest, right? Like Spirit to start the year, I guess we would have had confidence based off of the major win.
Yeah.
So,
they're not really, they're not close. As I said, they're not close to winning titles except from Bounty. So maybe it turns around. Now they win this, they go win the major. Who knows? You know, that could put them in contention. But right now, it's not looking very likely.
All right, let's go into strikers. Now, he's more of like a suave kind of time bandit, traveling in a suit.
Benedict Cumber.
I was going to say more like, what's his face from... Eddie Redmayne, there you go. From I can't fucking remember.
Doctor Who?
No, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Well, either way, Striker, you've taken a swing for the fence, mate, and you've missed. I don't think G2 are going to be winning the major unless something crazy happens.
Well, yeah, those two things are the ones that I feel like, that was a long shot in the first place. For sure.
Don't make the major complexity.
Yeah, at the time, I think that was a pretty reasonable attempt because, I mean, they just got Nyx and 6C at the time, lost the leash. I didn't expect them to be competitive. Definitely proved me wrong in that aspect, at least at Bucharest, right? It was
more spots as well for the region.
Yeah, I mean, that also helps for sure.
Team to make roster changes, answer Astralis.
Easy.
True, did happen.
Easy, did happen.
Team of the season, Vitality. You've got that one. You've nailed that
easy.
one.
Yeah.
But breakout player, and I think this is the one where you really take the flowers home. NIP.
Yeah. If it was before this event, I think I'd be more ashamed, but it helped.
Well, they did win Philadelphia. Sure. Don't forget about that.
Honestly, I want to go back and see the clip of what exactly I said about the NIP, because in my mind, in my memory, it's like exactly spot on about what I said about them, that they wouldn't make anything until the end of the season where they have one good result, and then second season is where they really kick off. So I really feel like I got that part right at least.
All right, we'll get into mine. So here we go. I'm like a space babe, as you can see here. Yeah, with
like a moon that looks like a sombrero.
Yeah,
it's more like Virgin Mary,
like a halo.
Yeah.
So I had major winner as FaZe and MVP as a liege. Now I want to know what I was smoking on that day, because that would have been some damn good shit, and I think I need to get that back in my life.
To be fair, we don't know. We don't know. You don't know. Maybe.
Fucking hell. Don't make them you contrast this with the
you had
Snake and Banter headline I ran with.
Imagine you had gone with major MVP simple or some shit, now with all this.
Don't make the major Fnatic.
Let's go, W. Easy.
There you go. I'll take that one. Team to make roster changes, Liquid. They did do that.
Yep.
They actually did do that. Team of the season, Mouse. Well, they won an event. Right? They made some back-to-back finals. They're simmering now. Maybe with a late resurgence. A Dallas win. An Austin Major trophy. An exertion. He could be your major champ. Breakout player or team, Kyousuke. I've nailed it. That was easy. Come on now.
What did you nail?
He's not even
going to play, but he's not even going to play this season.
The land, back-to-back champion, Kyousuke, the breakout player of the season. Let's go.
I don't know, man.
Come on.
Everyone's talking about him.
Who would we have as a breakout player of the season?
I just wanted to actually ask this question.
Breakout player of the season.
I'm kind of thinking.
Is there...
Nobody from Mouse, nobody from Spirit, nobody from Vitality.
Jota on Aurora, maybe?
Maybe, yeah. Actually, that's a great shout. Jota's been pretty solid.
PR
is a pretty good one.
PR's had some good moments too. Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple names you could float around with for sure.
We've had a rookie watch in our little award chats, and we've been looking at these players. It's kind of hard.
People are mentioning Tanir. I guess he didn't really have that many
but
big events.
He's looked pretty good.
One. He's a good shout, to be honest.
I feel like that he's one of the players that maybe Spirit pick him up. Maybe that's the solution.
Okay,
he could fit. Yeah. He's anchory player, and is really good. Maybe that's the solution.
Okay. Well, guys, we did.
Reached the end.
We did it. We did it all in a minute and 50. A minute and 50, an hour and 50.
Hour 50.
Striker needs to get out in a couple minutes' time. So, do we have any unfinished business that we want to conclude before we get out of here?
Maybe some one question from the chat. Maybe there's going to be one.
We haven't done that in a while.
I want to give a shout out to our Spotify for interviews. People go and follow that and give it the 5-star if they like it. Just audio versions of interviews, easily accessible on your little walk. Can put 125, 150 speed. There's even transcriptions, even though they're not the best. There's a guy asking how they can get your signature in Astana. Not gonna happen.
I'm not in Astana.
Are you sad you can't play the show match with your best friend on a pixel?
I'm interested to see how that show match goes down. I really just wish for a good performance from Harry Russell and Hugo Byron. That's really what I'm out here to see.
Those are your little Padawans.
Yeah, we'll see how they go.
What did you say? What are the strengths? What map would suit them in the show match?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'll be honest. An ancient, maybe.
Yeah,
an ancient could be all right for them. But also, you've got to think about the other players in the team. So I'm not sure.
What about the soundboard? That's a great question. The soundboard. I woke up one morning watching a game. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in this cast right now?
There was one day where it was a little bit over the top silly. That's where the soundboard was kind of being fully embraced. But then I think we did find a good balance for the soundboard. But yeah, Dinko lent me his Rode Pro podcaster thing. So I was using that with some proper headsets. And the soundboard kind of added to the early mornings, got people out of bed.
Yeah.
But let's get out of here.
This last one. Did you watch the Dinko vlog from Mongolia?
No, I haven't yet.
It's missing probably all of the best parts.
Okay.
But, you can kind of fill in the gaps if you have the attentive eye. It's kind of like art house movie, like A24.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look,
I'll just say one more thing. Just watch HLTV in 7 minutes for an update on a long-awaited receipt. I don't know what to call it. Whatever.
Can you just tell us?
Check out HLTV in 7 minutes.
Can you just tell us in 7 minutes?
I can't say it because it's let's say it's a famously late. And whatever. Fuck. I can't say it. Whatever.
Okay.
It's everybody that it's famously late with announcement. Let's just say that.
Late.
Yes. That is consistently late with their findings.
ESIC.
Let's go.
Okay, that's exciting. All right. Well, guys, maybe there'll be something from ESIC.
We're expecting 128
in 6 minutes time. All right, Striker, get out of here. We're going to close the show down. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks to Anthros. Thanks to Skin Place. We'll be back with another episode next week sometime. See you later, alligator. Bye.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
When every move counts, your chair shouldn't hold you back. Top esports players are switching to Anthros for unbeatable support and performance that keeps them in the game longer. Designed to support your unique shape and built with medical-grade components, Anthros is setting a new standard for comfort. Check out the Anthros difference today and get ready to fix your sit, because gaming deserves more than just a chair.
It was more than a game. It was everything. Every single emotion on display. Not a moment missed. This was CSGO through the lens.